how this works. But the reason why I have this one on, I'll show you, is it's the only one that you'll be able to connect both era bayonets, the World War II and the Korean era bayonet, to the rifle with this gas plug. With this gas plug, you're not going to be able to. This is more, I believe, the World War II one. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, there's probably some, Garand guy that knows everything up and down that's cringing at that statement, or one of these statements. But as far as I know, this one will not, the Korean War bayonet will not connect to this with this gas plug. So I'm assuming that's not the era that it was used for. This gas plug I bought from a company. This is, it tightens with a, with just a regular, ratchet. The small one fits right in that to be able to tighten it. That's square, but it will not fit the bayonet. But what's interesting about this one is it's hollowed out. You see, like the normal ones, they're just a solid piece of metal. And this one is hollowed out. Supposedly, this company says that it being hollowed out allows you to fire more powerful ammunition without danger to the gun. Usually you would have to fire just surplus, military surplus ammo, 150 grain. Military surplus ammo through an M1 Garand. They say you can damage it if you fire any of the higher powered, like the hunting rounds, just some 30-06 that you buy from Winchester or something like that. But supposedly with this, because it's hollowed out, it adds a little bit extra volume to the cylinder, and supposedly it'll cycle everything and not damage it if you fire the higher powered rounds. I bought it because it was available. I've used it. I've never really fired any higher powered rounds through it. I would just fire the military surplus, and it did cycle that just fine. So I don't see any reason why you couldn't just use this one, and it's just an added benefit to say, well, if I ever threw some higher power ammunition in there, it's supposed to, be okay. As far as bayonets go, I'll show you what I got as far as bayonets. This is an original Korean War era bayonet. And the reason why you have to have this particular gas plug on there is because you see there's a little nub here on this bayonet that when you slide it into the rifle, that little nub fits squarely inside the gas tube and fits on there pretty good. But with if you would have these other gas plugs in there, like let's say this one, it does not. It doesn't fit in there. So you're not going to be able to use a bayonet like this again. This aftermarket one that I had bought, it almost fits, but not quite. So if you wanted to use this type of Korean War bayonet, you would have to you would have to use this this style gas plug in order to be able to fit that one on there. The other style, the World War II style, this is an aftermarket, but it's a pretty good quality. I was happy with it. Not a lot of money, and it's a pretty good construction, pretty good quality. This fits on a little bit different. It doesn't use this gas tube at all. It slides into the regular same locking spot, but goes around the barrel when it locks in. And for that reason, you could have any gas plug in there to use this. And this is a much larger bayonet as well. That's pretty impressive. I definitely wouldn't want to charge this guy if I saw him holding this. And let's see what else we got here. I'll give you a little comparison on rounds. I have here. Here's the 30-06 round that the M1 Garand utilizes. The round itself is quite a bit bigger than what you see poking out of the case. Obviously, it fits inside a bit, about 1/4 of an inch, but that's a pretty large round. This rifle is firing some pretty powerful ammunition. By comparison, this is a 223 round in comparison. It's funny, the 223 really just looks like a shrunken 30-06 round, but the difference is in the size of the round. This is a 223 round in comparison. You see these rifles, it might look, the M16 might look impressive, but when you realize the difference in the size of the round that you're actually sending down range is pretty amazing. I mean, that is a considerable difference, and comparing the round itself to different rounds. Let's see, we have here. This is the 30-06 compared to the British 303. This is it compared to 30-30 Winchester. And this is it compared to a 308. What's interesting about the 308 is it's basically the same case. You can see it's basically the same case, just the neck is cut down a little bit, and obviously the case length is a bit shorter, but it has the same, it has basically an identical rim, identical sized case as far as width goes and dimensions, and if you line them up right there, you can see that it's pretty much the same. It's basically, a 30-06 is basically a 308 Magnum. That's basically, if you wanted to use the 38-357 comparison, that's basically what it's like. As far as disassembly is interesting on this rifle too, because people aren't used to it. You think that you'd really have to go through a lot, you know, especially in the field, you know, to disassemble a gun like this. But the ease of disassembly is amazing. The whole trigger group basically just lifts right out without a single tool, and then without any other tool, the stock itself with the sling just comes right off, and you're left with just the mechanism of the rifle. So if anything went wrong, that's how quick you'd be able to actually just get down to the nitty-gritty and take a look and see what's going on and what's wrong. And it's just as easy to start pulling this apart if something would have broken, if you would have broken a spring or a piece in there to get something in there. It's like an armorer's dream. You see how the bolt sits inside the back of the receiver in its rearmost position. This is closable. You do have to be careful with this action as far as closing it. I'm sure you've heard of that Garand thumb. It's something that hasn't happened to me because I am careful, but I definitely see the danger. I get you a little up close here. You can see the follower that pushes the rounds up. Into the magazine. And here is the operating rod that you can see connects down there. It's got that piece that slides against the side of the barrel. It's very important to keep grease in this area here, and also in this channel here. It'd be really funny if I just did my thumb in right here. If they're saying that, I would definitely have to leave that in the video. This channel here that the bolt slides back and forth, and it's very important to keep grease in there. It's a high wear area, and if you know how to take care of these things right, this is the spring obviously that'll pull the bolt back into position. If this is spring loaded, just saying there's a long spring in here that runs all the way up the center of it. Well, not all the way up. It'll run up till around, I guess around here somewhere, where the you know, the tip of this has a flat where the piston actually pushes down. There's a spring inside of there, and you know, this gun is so fun to fire, and it's just such a piece of history. I think that we should be like the Swiss and mandate that everybody, every American citizen should own one of these. They are really a piece of history, and see, the bolt has to be open for adding the trigger guard. So we're learning things here together. You know, I've never had a problem getting this on, ever. Interesting. There we go. I have no editing software, so I'm stuck with that in the video. Anyway, there it is, the M1 Garand. It's funny, you can see it's black up here on the wood from the heat. This is where see, it's much darker there than it is near the bottom, you see, because there's so much heat generated in this area. This gets so hot. You fire a few clips through this, you lick your finger and touch that, and you're gonna get it. It's that hot, and a lot of gases escape from here. Hot gases escape from this junction point here, and you'll see after you fire it, you'll have a lot of residue, a lot of carbon buildup, and a lot of residue on the operating rod here and on this whole area. So this whole area, you can always tell how much one of these has been fired just by how black it is in this area on the end of the barrel right here. And that's it. You know, this is something nice to take care of and hand down from generation to generation. This is like a 50s model, but some of the parts are World War II era. The receiver itself is a 50s vintage Springfield, but some of the parts, like the bolt and the operating rod, are, you know, if I could check from the numbers and see that they are actually World War II era parts. So every part inside one of these, unless you get an original one, which forget it, you're not going to get one where everything matches. You know, it's just not going to happen unless you pay, you know, probably $10,000. But you get one of these things that's just a mishmash of parts, and every part in here has a story to tell. You know, there's so much history to it that just feeling it in your hands, you could even feel the history to it. You know, this one was rebuilt at the. It's got an AA down here. I found out that meant Augusta Armory, which is where this one was refurbished and put back together, and ended up in my lap, and I love it and I enjoy it. Thanks a lot.